Hello and welcome back for one last time to the last day of my cabin stay series. Winter has truly arrived now and it looks like it's time to pack up and leave before I get snowed in. When I first decided to come here last year, I had no idea how long I would stay. Initially, it was just supposed to be 2, maybe 3 days, maybe a week tops. I thought I would check on the mushrooms, do a hike or 2 and make a quick video, but those few days stretched into 6 whole weeks. And here we are with a 14 episode series. Now I know taking a year to edit 14 videos might sound a bit crazy, but this has been a huge learning experience. I picked up some valuable lessons along the way and now the series is finally complete. In today's final episode, we will go over the cost of staying here for 6 weeks. But first, there is one last task, a water run in this beautifully snowy scenery. It's fitting to end the series with the same task we began with in episode 1, especially since I need to cook one last meal before I go. It won't be anything fancy this time, just some simple ham and cheese instant pasta and a warm cup of tea for the journey home. For the next few weeks, I'm staying at our family log cabin in the heart of the Slovakian Low Tatras mountains. I haven't been here for many years, but I absolutely love this place and we are going to have some adventures here together. There is a lot to explore around here. Last time we braved a winter storm to hike up to Jumbier, the highest peak around here, and were rewarded with an epic view of the frozen double cross at the summit. And today marks the conclusion of our 6-week stay. So sit back, relax and let's begin. So let's dive into the costs, starting with accommodation. You might be wondering, do I have to pay to stay at our own family cabin? Well, yes, I do. Even though it's a family cabin, there are costs involved in running a place like this, things like wood, electricity, sewage, and regular maintenance or improvements. All of these expenses are covered by contributions from everyone who stays here. There is even a logbook that keeps track of every stay, and I will be adding my own record in there as well. The pricing is based on your membership level with the cabin. There are 3 tiers. First we have the founders level. This includes the 5 brothers who originally built the cabin, their wives and any children under 19. They pay just €2 per night. Then there is the active member level, which is for anyone who has actively helped maintain or improve the cabin in the last 12 months. For example, if you participate in prepping the wood for winter, you qualify for a discounted rate of €4 per night. Finally, there is the anybody else level, which includes everyone who doesn't fit into the first 2 categories. They pay the full price of €8 per night, including any non-family guests. Since I stayed for 41 days with 40 nights at the cabin, my total came to €320, 40 nights times €8. And in case you are wondering, the cabin isn't available to the public, it's a private family cabin, and the only way to stay here is if someone with access gives you permissions to stay. Now let's move on to the remaining costs, which covers food, fuel and activities I did during my stay here. Starting with the biggest expense, food. If you've been following along, you've seen me do quite a bit of cooking and as you might imagine, that didn't come cheap. I also gained a bit of weight thanks to it, but we will leave that for another time. Most of my shopping was done at the big Tesco in the RGB shopping center down in Liptovský Mikuláš. This total doesn't include takeaways, just the groceries and small essentials I picked up while there. The grand total? €555.09. Of course, this could have been a lot less, but since I am not home in Slovakia very often, I decided to treat myself and cook up some of my favorite dishes while I had the chance. Now for takeaway cost. This includes all the extra food I indulge in like kebabs, langos and that one visit to Burger King, usually after a shopping run. That came to a total of €67.90. Next up are expenses from the trips and outings. This doesn't include fuel, just the cost of the things like parking, entry fees and restaurant visits during our days out. That comes to €179.20. Fuel costs were another biggie. I filled up the tank with one full load of diesel for €123.10, which lasted almost the entire trip, including the drive back down to Bratislava. Finally, there is the everything else category, which includes smaller expenses like the €10 I spent on a mousepad so I could edit videos here, a visit to emergency dentist, which actually cost less than the mousepad at €9.50, and of course the €50 I spent on set of two almost new winter tires, so in total for these miscellaneous items it was €69.50. All in all, the grand total of my 6-week stay came to €1,314.79. And if you break that down per day over the 41 days I've been here, the average daily cost comes out to €32.06. And that's it. That's everything I spent in 6 weeks here. I think it's pretty good value for the length of stay. I think it's about the same what I would spend normally in UK. And before I head out, there is one last thing I've been waiting to show you all this time, but could not quite find it until now. The Chronicle of the Cabin, this record book, or rather books, documents every stay here from the earliest visits to the most recent ones. They used to be kept on the shelf, but since they've become so hefty with memories over the years, they found a new home in this sturdy toolbox. Since I finally tracked them down, let me show you some of the early photos from around the time the cabin was built. Up here in the left corner is my grandfather, and here below are my father and his 4 brothers. And over here we have some truly rare shots of the cabin's original construction. Well, technically it's a relocation. The cabin was initially a barn where locals kept their animals through the winter. It was bought, carefully taken apart lock by lock, and then reassembled here in its current location. There are also a few photos from the first holidays spent here. I wasn't even born yet. This was around 1976 when the cabin was finally completed. Now I won't go through all the records, but I did find a photo taken about 13 years later, and yep, that's me. I think this kid in the blue and white striped t-shirt is me. I would have been around 10 years old, and judging by the path to the barn in the background, this wasn't my first visit. I still remember the cabin without a road, so I must have been here even earlier. There is my grandma and my dad in this picture too. I also added my own entry in the chronicles documenting everything I'd experienced during my stay, and even sketched out a QR code by hand which links to a playlist of all the cabin episodes from my time here. And after that, it's time to get going. That QR code derailed my plans to leave on time by about 2 hours. It's time to look everything up, load up the car with my stuff, and just double check everything is clean and switched off. I also returned the clock back on the wall that I had to hide in the bathroom because they had an annoyingly loudly ticks. And it's time to say goodbye for now. I really hope you enjoyed coming along for this journey that captured my 6 weeks here and all the little moments from my stay. And the best part, I've been planning my next adventure for a few months now, so you won't have to wait long before the new adventure begins, as it's literally starting in just a few days. My next video will share all the details on what's coming up. Until then, take care and see you soon. Bye!